So there's a part of your journey in your story which is both difficult to hear and important to hear.
Yeah.
And it involves domestic abuse.
Yeah.
And in as much or as little detail as you want to go into, can you tell us about the adversity that you faced? I think you were 17 and then maybe you fell pregnant shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
And then what happened in that part of your life?
So I fell pregnant with my first son, who's my oldest. He's 15. And that was great. Like, I met this guy through boxing, thinking, okay, it's my first time ever meeting, ever been in a relationship. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I thought I knew it. Like, being 17, thinking you know everything and you know better than your parents, your aunties, your cousins, and like, no, this person's the one. Like, I was brought up, especially like in a faith environment as well. So like, my mum always made sure she instilled in me and in my siblings that when you meet somebody and you lay in bed with that person, you've made a commitment for life. And that's how I was taught. So I was like, okay, I've met my number one, and thinking, because I was taught how to respect my body and stuff. You don't just give your body to anybody. So I thought, okay, this is the one. And then I got married early because I had a son, and because being brought up in that Christian faith, I was told to get married. So I had no other choice because I didn't have a home and I was pregnant, and my mum was like, you either get married or you're out. So I had it hard back then. So of course, me being young, thinking, okay, I know what my mum's saying. Let's go. I'll stick with my mum. So got married, had my son, and then I had my daughter. And then not long after my daughter, that's when I started getting like all the abuse. Like, just slowly, it slowly started chipping at me. Like, he did a number on me. Like, I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, he like really mentally abused me first. Then he started physically abusing me. And it was just slowly breaking me down as a person. And me I was already like coming from a broken home because my mum and dad had split it. And like, my mum became this crazy faithful person, and it was so out of line that I was like, okay, I'll stick to the abuser instead of because I felt like oh, I'd rather stay with the abuser than stay in the faith, because it felt like the faith was a cult and I didn't know what to believe yet, and I was still trying to find what kind of faith should I be, because yeah, it was kind of confusing because my mom just changed suddenly. Like, she did a flip. And so it was very hard and very confusing. So I stuck with the abuser, had my 2 kids, and then it turned ugly. He mentally broke me down, and then he just started lifting his hands at me, bashing me, hurting me. Like, it'd be like every week, all the time. And I thought that was love. And I thought that I owed it to this man, who was my husband at the time. I thought, no, I've got it, because I didn't believe in divorce. I was like, no, I don't believe in divorce. I've got it. The only person that can help this man is me. That's what I thought, being that young. So I constantly tried to help him and stay with him, because I thought that's what love was. Like, it was normal to me because I was I moved away from my family and got surrounded by his family, and that was normal to their family, which I just became normalized to me. And then I would speak up, but then I would always get denied and shut down. And like, I would even like open up to my mum, and she had to see the evidence. Like, she had to see it eye to eye that he had done that to me. So she didn't really, and she always would say, oh, forgive, the Lord should forgive. And I was like, no, you shouldn't be forgiving. Okay. So then I just fell in that trap. Mentally, I wasn't all there, like, because I was just getting beaten up. I just mentally was just like, okay, this is my life. I'm never going to get anyone, because he mentally drained me, and he really brainwashed my mind to believe that I could never get anyone, and that I'm not allowed anyone. And also, if I ever left, or if I ever spoke about him hurting me, that he would like kill one of my family, or, hurt someone in my family. and which he did. He hurt my auntie and my cousins, and then threatened my siblings. So I just stayed in it for the sake of it. Like, I thought, okay, I'm just going to stay in it because I don't want to hurt any of my family. I would be like on the run sometimes, trying to run away from him. He'd find me. I could never run away. Like, I was like on the run that's how I felt, like just on the run with my kids. And like my son, he tried to run over my son. So I gave my son up to my aunties, and they were scared of him as well. But they were mainly concerned about the kids, like as long as the kids were safe. Because then he started getting into the gang, and then drugs, alcohol, just the whole thing. Like, it was so draining. It was like, a lot of it I've blocked. Like, it's not till I go to certain places and then I'll remember what happened to me. And it's like, what the heck? Like, I look back and now, like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, but being that young, just thinking that you've lost your worth, you don't value who you are, you just hate who you are, and then also you run away and you don't know how to live because they control everything. He controlled the money. I didn't even know how to pay a bill. Like, I've only just learned how to pay like rent and stuff because I never got taught that. And I didn't even know how to be a mum. If it wasn't for my aunties, they taught me all that. So yeah, he controlled everything. And I was always scared because I didn't want to leave my kids, because he really brainwashed me to say that if I ever ran away with my kids, he would come and get them, because he knew how to, he knew the system. I don't like the system. It's all wrong. And I never trusted the police because they failed me. They never helped me or supported me, because when I did call, they'll take it to court and it'll get thrown out because it was my word against his, and he always had support and backing where I couldn't prove. So it was hard, very hard.
And how did you eventually break free? How did you get out?
It took years to get out. Like, I was constantly, like, I'd say probably I've been free for the last 3 years away from him, since I think he's doing life in prison, and that's really secured my safety. But even now, like, I don't like living on my own because I get paranoid sometimes, and then I'm thinking he's going to pop out of nowhere, because he used to do that all the time. Like, I had another partner at that time, and I had a newborn, and 3 a.m. he showed up, and I called the cops. Cops were like, thought we were lying because he had gone. And I was like, he was here. And they didn't believe me. So he still carried on torturing me, and the only way I got out was when he done life in prison, and when I moved to beach boxing, when I finally met my gym, he left me alone, like, for good. I was shocked. I was like, because I had been all over the place throughout New Zealand, Australia. It still didn't stop him. He still always found me.
Mea, thanks so much for sharing with us. And I want to talk about actually talking about it, because it's such a powerful message of what you have been through and what you've come through to where you are now.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, a media tour like this, like before a fight, I guess everyone kind of knows the story, but to keep bringing it up every time, I imagine it's quite emotionally draining, but it's such also an important story to tell.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel it's important to talk about it?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, the more I've spoken about it, the more I'm more confident, and the more healing it is for me. Like, I've passed that obstacle, because before I would, like, never want to talk about it. It would hurt me. Like, it would crush my heart. But now I'm like, ever since, like, doing my last interview, I went to my old home, which I thought I could never face. I was always so scared of facing it. And going there was the biggest healing ever. Like, I felt this, you know how you just have this big weight on your chest, and like someone's been strangling you for years, and you've carried that every night? I had, like, literally after that, I had the best sleep I have ever had in like 10, 12 years. Because I would wake up all the time just being like paranoid because of what I had been through and all the torture he had put me through. The first time in my life, and I felt I had the best sleep. And like lately I've just been having the best sleep. I haven't had like, I used to always have like nightmares all the time, like just because of all the trauma I had been through, and it used to frustrate me. But now I love speaking about it because it frees me. That's how I feel. I feel so free and relieved. It's like a big weight off me.
But also to help there will be people listening who are in similar situations. Domestic abuse
100%.
is a big problem in New Zealand.
It is.
And it seems like the message is don't give up, don't let it define you.
Yeah.
Find your way through, ask for help. Like, what is the message?
The biggest, this is for me, a lot of females don't come out because of the shame. They are so shameful because of what they've put themselves through. But no, don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. There's actually people there's only like probably like 5% of people that will think you're stupid, but 95% of the people will be like proud of you coming out, because that was the biggest thing for me, was like why I never wanted to speak about it, because of the shame. Like I would be like, why would I put myself through that? Why did I put myself through? But I didn't even know I was going through that because I was mentally broken as well. And they slowly chip at you. So yeah, it's the biggest for me is why I find a woman, like a lot of women I do know, why they don't want to come out is because they're ashamed and they're too scared. They live under their fear, because the male or the female, the controller, the abuser, has really brainwashed them and told them, like, if you ever speak, you are going to die, or this person, they threaten them. So that's what builds the fear in that person. So that's why you're always too scared to speak about it. And that was my biggest struggle. I was always too scared to speak about it because of the shame. I would be like, oh no, it'll be shameful. And then also would be trying to protect them because you don't want to embarrass your children as well. But no, I openly spoke to my children and they were just like, no, it's still our dad, but what he did to you was wrong. And so they're proud of me, and they're the ones that have told me, like, no, Mum, speak about it because you're going to help other women. There's heaps out there. But yeah, I feel like the biggest thing for females out there is don't be afraid. Don't live under that abuser, because that for the last 12 years or maybe even longer, I've lived in that guy's fear. And I've finally overcome it, and I can say that I am no longer letting him control me. Because like just last week, he was still controlling me not realizing that he was still controlling me because I wasn't speaking about it. And now that I've spoken about it, he ain't controlling me, I'm controlling him, and I've got the better. Now I'm the bigger person, and there's no shame, I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I've become.
Since you have started speaking out about it, have you received either publicly or privately support from other people in the same situation, or people that maybe didn't have the courage to speak out beforehand that have heard your message and now decided, actually enough is enough and I'm going to do something about it?
Yeah, one of them was my auntie, actually. I only just found out on Monday. She showed up at our doorstep and she broke down to me and said to me, I saw your little story, and because he snapped her spine, and she said she saw my story and it inspired her, and then she went into a refuge because of watching my story. So that was powerful. I felt like, wow, I just saved my auntie's life. Like, because this guy was going to kill her. Her ex-husband was going to kill her. Like, she was in hospital. I didn't even know she was in hospital. And then she showed up at our doorstep. And I was like, wow. She said it was my message that helped her get out of it. And that's what gave her courage, was hearing my story.
I think another part to it is the role of people in and around that network that know what's happening, maybe not in their own relationship, but they know that it's going on, and they may stand idly by, and by hearing other people's conversations about it, it might actually give them the courage as well to step in and do something about it, rather than letting it letting it go? Because I think that's another massive problem that we've got in this country is, it happens.
A lot of people
and they turn a blind eye.
And they turn a blind eye. Yeah, if I see it, I don't. I see it in the mall, and I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, you're abusing her. I'm going to call the cops. Like, because I don't want to step in because they might hurt me. But the best thing I can do is call the cops, because I'd rather know that I did something than walk away and then find out she's dead the next day. So, yeah, by me I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anybody. Because, like, what made me not be so fearful is because if my daughter can fight for my life and stand in front of her father, and he was going to stab me, and she took it for me, that's when I was like, man, if my daughter is not afraid, then why should I be afraid? And that's where I built the courage. I was like, nah, no way. If she's got that much strength, why can't I have that? So, yeah, that's where I built my strength. So, definitely, I'm not afraid of anybody.
Yeah, you're such a beacon of light, and I've got goosebumps just thinking about the message and the platform you have to share the message, and it's so great. You're such a good spokesperson for fighting, for finding that strength to do what is hard. So thank you for sharing that.